skull to you. Can I offer you a drink? Yeah, like this. It is strengthening on a night like this. Yes. Thank you. Oh, yes. Yes, it bites all the way into the bones. That is good. We need it. I fancy I should see you here again, so far away from home. So tell me, this mission of yours, well, of ours, since somehow I got myself involved in this. We are all one in this battle. Yes. But how have you been holding up? Have you slain many enemies? Conquered much land? Gotten hold of much gold? Yes. Oh, you will make our people proud. You will. Even though there may be setbacks. Yes, and even though you might be defeated in battle once or twice, or feel your men are not up to the task. But today was particularly challenging, you say. What happened? Talk to me about your day. Yes, I see. I see. Yes, I understand after a night like that. Many men or women, brave as though they may be, would have trouble finding sleep, finding calm. But perhaps you were braver than you thought today. Perhaps you fought more valiantly, and perhaps it is just your mind playing tricks on you. Yes, or perhaps these people in a strange land, perhaps they are the ones playing tricks on you and on your mind, making you see things that are not there, or think things that are not true. You remember the story of Thor and Ulkorsloke, the giant he met once on his travels? No? Oh. Tell you what, why don't you have another drink? And then just lay down and I will tell you the story. And you may fall asleep if you can. And if not, you may take solace in my words. Yes. one final sip. And then you sleep. Yeah. Now you see, Thor, once upon a time, he wanted to travel, see the world up north, and as many times before, he was joined by Loke. Oh, they had their moments together, and this time he also had two other companions, the human children, Shellmer and Rahko, a boy and a girl. Now, how they came to travel with Thor, that is another tale, which I will tell some other time. For now, these 4 people, a god, a giant, and 2 humans, very small humans, were traveling. And when nightfall arrived, they took shelter in this large grotto or cavern. They were not quite sure. When they entered it, they thought it was an abandoned house with the door open wide all the way across one side of the house, and the rooms were laid out as such as to one side there was a small side chamber, and then 4 bedrooms laid out as long rooms across the back of the house. So they settled in to one of these rooms and they slept. When they were woken up sometime later that night by a thunderous roaring. And they thought it was thunder, but in reality it was snoring, for what they thought was a house was in reality the gloves of a giant. Yes, although Loki himself was a giant as well, he was actually a Yeti. Half gods, we call them giants sometimes, although there are true giants and then there are Yeti. Loki was a Yeti, and giants could be many, many more times greater than him or his kind. So the house they found was the glove of a true giant called Shellmer. And, well, Thor, he was so very angry to be woken up in the middle of the night that he took his trusty hammer Mjolnir and struck the giant with it. Boom. Straight in the head. And the giant, he did not flinch, and he did not stop snoring. And that night, Thor and his companions, they did not get much sleep. As we hope not will be the case for you tonight. Yes. No. They woke up the next morning, and Shellmer woke up as well, the giant. And Thor and his friends, they were very, very hungry. traveling on foot all day the previous day with nothing to eat and only very little to drink. And so Thor, in his wisdom, he saw that Screamer's bag of food, his ration pack, was much, much bigger than theirs. And he thought, and he said, "Would you share it with us?" And Screamer obliged him. So Thor, he tried to get open the bag, but the rope around it, it was tied so tight that even the mighty Thor could not open it. And that made him really, really mad. That made him mad. So he took his hammer again, Mjolnir, and he struck the bag. And nothing happened. And that made him even madder. And he struck Screamer in his head again. But it bounced right off, and Screamer, you know what he said? He said, "Oh, I think a fly must have landed on my forehead." And Thor, he tightened his strength belt, took both hands on his hammer, and he struck again, this time making a real dent in the giant's forehead. And the giant, he said, "Oh, was that an autumn leaf landing on my forehead? I must be more careful." And now Thor, for the third time, tightened his belt, both hands on the hammer, leaned back and swung, really, with the shoulder into it, the mightiest swing you've ever seen on the battlefield. And he buried Mjolnir in the forehead of the giant. And he said, "Oh, I think an acorn must have landed in my head." Now, at that point, Thor was furious, but he also was realistic, and he saw that there was nothing more to be done. So they followed the giant a bit before saying their goodbyes. And, well, Thor, Loke, Kjell and Röskva, they wanted to travel north to see the land of the giants. Screamer warned them. He said, "Oh, you don't want to go any more farther north, because up there is Ulgor's Loke, and all his men are much bigger than me, fearsome creatures. You might want to travel back south." But Thor, of course, proud as he was not scared by Screamer. Along with Loke and the two human children, they headed further north, and before long they saw the farmhouse of Ulgor's Loke. And indeed, it was massive, truly the greatest house they had ever seen. And as they approached, Ulgor's Loke, the giant himself, came out to greet them. And he said to them, "Well, greetings, travelers. If you seek shelter here, you must prove your worth, and all the men in my halls, each one of them, has something that they are better at than everybody else in the world. You must prove your worth to us. So Thor, he looked around at his companions, and Loke was the first to put his name in the ring, and he said, "No one can eat as fast and as much as me, so I will challenge one of your men to an eating duel." And Ulgorsloge said, all right then, then you will challenge Lue. So they took a trough of food several yards long. They filled it with meat, and they had Lue start from this end and Loke start from this end, and then they both ate their way into the middle of the trough, and here they met. The only difference was that while Loke had eaten all the flesh and all the meat and sucked the bones clean, Lue, on the other hand, he had eaten the flesh, the meat, even the bones and the marrow, and even the trough as well. Now that was one hard eater to beat. So Loke had to admit defeat. Well then, the little human boy, Chelfe, he said, "Well, no one can run as fast as me." Oh, but Ulgorsloge, he pointed to another one of his men called Hu, and they set the two competitors up side by side and made a target at the other end of the hall and set them off to run. And on the first try, Chelfe ran as fast as his legs could carry him, and he was only a hair's breadth behind Hu. He said, "That's not fair. I want to go again." So they went again, but on the second try, it was no matter, and this time it was no arrow shot behind Hu. And even so, he wanted to try a third time. So they obliged, and they ran another time, but this time Chelfe, he did not even reach half the length of the track before Hu had reached the goal. So, not Loke, not Chelfe could beat one of Ulgorsloge's men in a fair fight. But then it was Thor's turn to step up, and he said, "No one can drink as much as me." Well, Ulgorsloge, he had the perfect challenge for that. He had a massive drinking horn in the hall, and he said to Thor, "Most of my men, they can empty this horn in one swallow, though usually we take it in two, though no one has yet had to take 3 drafts of it to empty it." So Thor grabbed the horn, put it to his lips, and he started drinking and drinking and drinking till he was red in the face and he could do no more, and then he had to stop and swallow and he looked into the horn and saw that he'd only just drunk the topmost finger's width of the horn. He was not happy about that, so he put the horn to his lips again, and he drank and he drank and he drank. He drank and he drank till his eyes and world turned dark, and he lowered the horn and he saw that he'd only emptied half of the horn. And Ulgorsloge, he just laughed and said, "Oh my dear, it looks like you have quite a ways to go for the final draft." So Thor, once again, the horn to his lips, and he drank. But it was all for naught. However much he tried, not even this time, he could empty the horn, and now his belly was too full. Felt like an entire sea was in his stomach, and he could do no more, however much it pained him to admit defeat. But admit defeat, no, he could not yet, even though he had lost this battle. He said, "Well, then, give me another challenge." And Ulgorsloge saw that maybe this god was not as strong as he had heard stories about. So he said, "There is a cat outside in the yard, and the boys try to have fun by picking it up. Why don't you have a go?" Thor, he frowned at Ulgorsloge, but he went outside anyway in the yard, and he found the black cat, and he grabbed him with both hands, and he lifted, and he lifted as much as he could with bulging muscles. But even spending all of his might, he was only able to lift just a single hind leg of the little black cat, and all the boys laughed at him. And Thor, he was furious red in the face now, so he said, "Well, then I will wrestle one of your men." And Ulgorsloge said, No, we cannot do that. My men are much too strong for you, Thor. But if you really want to, you may wrestle my old mother, Ele. So Ulgorsloge brought out his old, aging, decrepit mother, who walked with a walking stick and a limp and a hump in her back. And Thor, he grabbed her and he wrestled her, and he tried his mightiest to bring her down to the ground. But no matter how much he tried, there was no luck. So Thor, Loke, Kjellfe and Oskar, they had to go to bed that night, defeated, shameful, wondering how they managed to lose all of those challenges. And I bet you that they did not get a wink of sleep that night. Just as we know it, when we have had a bad day and things are not going our way, we will lie awake endlessly, hour after hour, just pondering everything we could have done differently. Every strike of the axe and the sword, every parry of the shield, every war cry, every new town you enter. Yes, well, brooding brings nothing good. But let me tell you, the point of the story is what happened in the morning. Thor, Loke, Kjell and Röskva, they were preparing to go back home to Asgard. And Utgård's Loke came to them, and he was not as cocky as the night before, because he had something to admit. He said to Thor, "I fear we have not been honest with you, because we know your strength, and when you came here, we decided to play a little magic on your mind and on your eyes." The magic started already the day before when you met Shellmer. And you remember you struck him 3 times in the head, and he just brushed it off like it was nothing. Well, look out there. Do you see those mountains? Yes, those 3 mountains are the places where your hammer hit and caused the earth itself to bulge. Yes. And when you came here, we knew that we had to do some trickery to beat you. And Loke, he eats fast, but his opponent Lu, he was actually a fire disguised, and no one can compete with fire when it comes to eating. And your little boy Kjell, he is fast indeed, but his opponent, he was my thoughts embodied, and they run pretty fast as well. And then there were you, Thor, and that horn you drank from. It was actually connected to the sea itself, and if you look into the sea, you will see that the waterline has actually decreased quite a bit as you drank. And that black cat that you tried to lift, well, it was the Midgard's worm in disguise, and we were all terrified out of our minds when we saw you lift its one hind leg. And my old mother, Hele, well, she is more than my old mother. She is old age herself, and against old age, everyone fights in vain. So you see, Thor, there is nothing to be ashamed of, and yet you must go now. And so Thor, Loke, Kjell and Röskva, they went on their way south clear nights before going out on even more thrilling adventures. Oh, I see you are sleeping already. That is good. That is good. Yes. You will need the rest and the energy for tomorrow's battles. Yes. Who knows what tomorrow will bring? Truth is, none of us do. Even though we might pretend. But we will only know once the sun rises again what challenges we will see. But just remember to not let your mind deceive you. Do not be fooled by magic or trickery. Know that you are stronger than you think yourself to be. Now sleep. Sleep, my friend, and take care.